Alrighty, a reading for Charles Baruch and his new horror podcast called Horror Words. So what I'll read from today is Dark Cloud on Naked Creek. It's a new version of my novel that was released nearly a decade ago. And by the time you see this video, it will be back out. So what's the book about? It follows the story of Afton Sullivan. She's a nurse that works in a men's prison, and she has just returned from a 6-week medical leave. Okay, here we go. Here we don't go. No, really, here we go. All right, as Nurse Afton's driving to work that morning north on Route 340, she couldn't help but notice the dark clouds gathered over the bridge at Naked Creek. She crossed this bridge every day, back and forth to work. But on this particular day, the clouds were hanging so low that she felt like she could almost reach up and touch them. Today will be different. She had been off for 6 weeks and going to work at this all-male prison. Things tended to happen, and she would hope, after being off for a little while, she would return to a more calm environment. Does she? No. The first patient of the day was a 55-year-old man named Mitt Daniel. He was brought into the medical unit via wheelchair, complaining of chest pain. It was his third trip to medical for the same reason. The other 2 times had been stress-related, not cardiac. Nevertheless, Afton went to work and started on the protocol, because you never assume when it comes to chest pain. First time you do, more than likely it's going to be a big old myocardial infarction, heart attack. She tells the guard to help her get him off the gurney. No she doesn't. She says, help me get him on the gurney. As you can tell, I'm not much for readings. I generally just like to tell a story. Anyway, Byler helps her to get Mitt Daniel from the wheelchair up on the gurney so she can examine him. And so there were times when Afton hated to lay hands on the inmates. Why? Because she never knew what she was going to see. And no matter how many times it happened, she was never prepared. And this time was no different. The moment her hands touched his chest to remove his shirt, searing pain shot into her fingertips and up her arms. It felt like jamming the tines of a fork into an electrical socket, or what she figured that might be like. It began. Afton could plainly see him at yesterday's visitation with his granddaughter. Her long blonde curls, the frilly short dress, appropriate for a 6-year-old, but not for a prison, especially one that is known for its high occupancies of pedophiles. His hand on her back might appear innocent to the unknowing person, but not to Afton. She knew what he felt and thought as he touched her. The sick and twisted plans he had in store for her in one short month when he was due to be released. She couldn't allow that to happen. Not to her, not again. Afton hoped the electrocardiogram would show that he was having a massive heart attack, but no such luck. The EKG was normal. This wasn't the first time the nurse had been forced to face such a dilemma. The last time had been a close call, but she understood that she had a duty to help this man, if she could. So she focused on his EKG and soon realized that he wasn't breathing. She starts CPR and she loses track, how long she's doing these compressions. It's just like a robotic, rhythmic action that she was trained to do. Before she knew it, 10 minutes had elapsed. The guard watched closely as she worked. The inmate, Daniel, seemed to be staring at her into her eyes with an expression of sheer terror. What's happening, she thought. Afton opened her mouth to question him, but the words didn't come out. Was it possible that the disgust she felt for him could be transferred through her touch? Something was happening to him. That was for certain. She glanced at the heart monitor. Now the EKG showed flatline. Byler looked at her for direction. Notify control and then dispatch an ambulance, she told him. Of course, she couldn't stop. She was obligated to continue trying to bring that monster back from the brink of death, or at least give it her best shot. His eyes were open and focused directly on her. The worst part of it, they seemed to be staring directly into her soul, searching for forgiveness. It was not her forgiveness that he needed. His pleas for forgiveness should be to his poor granddaughter. He could stare at Afton all he wanted. No pity would come from her eyes or from her hands as they continued to administer CPR. No one dies in prison. It's an unwritten but well-known rule. So she did her job until the medics arrived and took over. Soon he was wheeled out of medical and loaded into the ambulance. Inmate Mick Daniel was gone from there. He was now headed to the nearest hospital. Considering that the prison was located in rural West Virginia, it would be over an hour's drive. By the time they reached the medical facility, there would be nothing else left to do except for the doctor to pronounce him dead.